Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee. I'm Keith Reynolds, host of Morning Coffee, with my lovely co-host, Charlene Chamberlain.
Good morning, Keith. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. Got my coffee, but I'm not going to promote anybody.
This is hump day, right?
This is hump day, absolutely. Getting over that hump in the week.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on, Char? What's new for Wednesday for Valentine's week?
Here's my Valentine's Tidbit. We know Valentine's Day is big business, and consumers will spend an average of $74 each on gifts, but the e-commerce retailers have told us that they expect to rack up $650 million in sales on food, candy, and flowers. Another $45 million of that will be spent on food, chocolate, and wine. But I question this, because what about the beer lovers? And right now, today, live, we have Muller from Flying Fish Brewery to tell us all about the beer lovers.
Right, so today is actually Good Morning Beer instead of Good Morning Coffee.
Good morning beer,
Good
that's
morning
right, I like that.
Beer in your coffee mug.
Right. So Jean, you started Flying Fish Brewery in 1995, and you have a very interesting story, because I recall that you told me that you actually built the brewery online first before actually bringing it to fruition.
Yeah, actually that's true. Back in 1995, people can't really imagine that now, but it was a time before there was Google, it was a time before there was spam.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people were on the internet.
Right.
And I started to learn about this thing called the web and realized that people who liked craft beer and people who were into tech were kind of a intertwined group. So we built this website, didn't have financing, didn't have a brewery, and created the world's first virtual microbrewery.
How long did it take you to do that?
About 4 or 5 months. And then it was kind of like This Old House meets the web. So it was like building a brewery.
Plans online and everything?
Yeah, we asked people, give us ideas for beers, give us ideas, do you think it should be a 12-ounce bottle or a 22-ounce bottle, just things like that, and kind of engaging folks.
Mm-hmm.
And that got us a lot of publicity. At the time, even the major newspapers in the area didn't have the internet in their newsrooms.
Right.
So we were at my kitchen counter and I was saying, this is what the internet is, and this is the Flying Fish website.
Wow.
That got the attention of a bank, that got the attention of some investors, and about a year later, we had a real brewery.
And it took about a year for you to actually construct it, or did you go into a building?
We went into a building, and it took about 6 months to get it all fit out, get everything done, and then there's a lot of licensing.
And where was that was your first location, right?
The original building was in Cherry Hill.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, it was nice. It was about 10,000 square feet. We were there for 16 years, and then in 2000,
16 years.
yeah, a long
already.
time. And 2012, we bought a building in Summerdale.
Okay.
Interesting history. Originally, it was Superior Records.
Right.
They used to press all the Motown records there.
I know.
And now it was kind of a tired old building, so we totally restored that. It was 45,000 square feet. We have 5 acres and built a state-of-the-art brewery. It's all features a lot of sustainability. We have a whole 470 solar panels on the roof, which is about 10% of our electric.
Nice.
A lot of water-saving things, a lot of energy-saving measures. So it's, without good water and good air and good crops, you don't have good beer.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? That's what I wanted to talk about too. Like, it's called hops.
Mm-hmm.
No, you use that that's what you use in beer, right?
Beer has 4 main ingredients. So you have barley, you have hops, you have water, and you have yeast. Hops are a naturally occurring vine. You can find them in New Jersey, you can find them anywhere growing in the wild, but these are cultivated, and you get bitterness from hops, which is when you drink a beer, that quenching character. You get flavor, you get aroma. Hops do everything. It's like the spice of beer.
Do you bring hops in from other countries, or?
Most of ours the hops in the U.S. used to be grown in upstate New York until the 1950s, and then there was a fungal blight, and now it's all in the high desert of Oregon and Washington State.
Really?
So most of them come from there. We get some from Germany, we get some from England, we get some from Slovenia as well, but most of them are sourced in the U.S.
And is it shipped in dry?
What they do is they pick these flour cones and they pelletize them. It almost looks like rabbit pellets.
Yeah.
And then they pack them under nitrogen, and you get them. You store them at 32 degrees because it's an agricultural product. So you only get one crop a year, so you need to keep them fresh.
Wow.
And what is it? I mean, this is actually kind of, you soak them to get the flavor out.
You put them into the boil, and like I said, with spices, depending on what you're doing, just like when you're cooking with spices. So if you put hops in the beginning, you get more of that hop bitterness. If you put them in at the end, you get more of the flavor and aroma. And we actually put them in sometimes after the beer is done fermenting, and it infuses almost like a tea, and you get a really nice flavorful nose and aroma from the hops.
I mean, and I know this is going to be a weird kind of like, but I do pickling. And it's similar to that, like where you're putting that seasoning in there and it gives that, it's breaking that flavor out depending on what the seasoning is when you pickle.
Exactly.
Really neat stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the hops. It's really a flour then, right? Is it the hop flour?
It's a flour cone, and it has
like after the petals are gone?
It's a vine. It's pretty fascinating. On a nice sunny day, it'll grow. You can literally watch it grow. It'll grow a foot or two a day.
Wow.
They go about 35
like
feet tall on a trellis.
Really?
Yeah. So they get these flour cones. It's actually a relative of marijuana. And
well, that's why they grow it in Oregon, okay?
But what we use it for, there's the alpha and beta acids that we use.
Gene.
But there are natural sleep aids. People used to put hops in pillows as a natural sleep aid.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to try that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That could be an add-on to your business.
Right. Well, actually, there's a hop shortage right now. There's so many breweries opening up that nobody's going to use hops in pillows.
Okay. So like, okay, so you have hops, and then what is the other?
Barley.
Barley.
So
now, is that barley like?
It's barley grass?
It's
like barley grass?
Yeah, it's like the barley grain, but it's a high quality malting barley. And what they do is they malt it, so they put it into a big warehouse about yay deep, soak it till it starts to germinate, and then they kiln it. And there's all different kinds. It's just like roasting coffee. So the longer you kiln it, the higher the temperature, the different colors and flavors come out of it. So
Does that make the color in the beer?
Exactly.
Okay.
So we have one malt called a caramel malt that adds some caramel character to the beer, also adds some red color. We have a Belgian black chocolate malt that doesn't taste like chocolate, but when you brew the beer, it gives it a darker color, and it actually gives some chocolate, sometimes even some black cherry character to the beer.
Okay.
That does sound like the tea, like messing with tea.
It does, straining it, yeah. And then yeast.
Yeast, which to me, my mind is the most important ingredient in beer.
Brewer's yeast?
It's a special strain of yeast. So we have 2 strains of yeast we use in our brewery. And the thing with yeast is it's a living organism, so it adapts to its environment. So we want to keep our consistency in the beer, so we use the yeast over and over again for up to a dozen generations. And it will give us that consistency. But yeast, if you change the fermentation 1 degree, it could give you different character to the beer, different flavor. So we really... that adds a lot. And it also adds a lot of flavor to beer. So we have our winter beer is called a Grand Cru. People drink it, you get nice banana. Some people pick up clove. That's all from the yeast. There's no flavorings in the beer. So yeast really brings a lot to the beer.
Now, I dabble a little in the kitchen, so I do bake a little. Okay, now I know that when I dissolve yeast in the water, obviously it can't be too hot because it kills the yeast. Is it the same thing with beer? When you're doing beer, you can't have it?
Right. When we brew our beer, we boil it for about an hour. We then cool it down to about 70 degrees, and we ferment. We do all ales, so they're fermented at about 72 degrees, and then we drop it to 32, and that's when the yeast drops out, and then we capture that and use it in the next batch.
Wow. Now, also, when I add sugar to my yeast, the yeast feeds off sugar. Is this the same type of yeast?
Exact same thing, because we get sugar from the barley. There's enzymes in the barley that convert the starch to sugar, and then we brew with that. When we're done with the barley, we recycle it to local dairy farmers. I just did the numbers last year. We recycled over 2 million pounds of barley as high quality cattle feed.
Wow.
So it helps.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, our farmers need all the help they can
Sure
get,
they
and
do.
Absolutely.
we don't want to put it in a landfill.
No.
So.
That's a great
No.
give back.
Yeah.
It really is.
And back to the yeast. The yeast is powdered, right? Is
Our
it
yeast
powdered?
comes in a liquid
A
culture,
liquid.
and then we grow it up. Yeah, there
Okay.
are powdered yeast, but we get better control and consistency with the liquid.
Right.
But does it get, I mean, like yeast in baking gives you
Rising,
that air and
rising,
the rising.
rising,
Does it
yeah.
give you more volume in the liquid?
No, in brewing, the yeast will consume those sugars, and it gives off CO2, which we carbonate the beer with. It gives off alcohol, and then it gives off flavors.
Okay, so it's just used to, it works a little differently.
Right.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you basically have the same volume. It's just you've converted those sugars into alcohol.
And then there's water.
Water. And water, to my mind, is the most overrated ingredient.
Right.
I know some of the big breweries used to talk about their Rocky Mountain water.
Mm-hmm.
Water was important in the days when no one understood water chemistry. So, in Germany they brewed lagers because the water was soft. In England they brewed ales because the water was hard. Our water is neutral. We carbon filter it, and sometimes we'll add some gypsum or things to adjust it. But with modern water chemistry, as long as you can drink water out of the tap, you can brew with it.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? For those mountain waters, like I'm a
Genesee.
fisherman,
Yeah.
and I know when I go up to upstate New York, you're not allowed to eat a lot of the water, and not eat a lot of the fish.
Fish,
So
the water.
how good is the water?
Right,
You know what
right.
I mean?
Right.
I was really shocked last year when I got my fishing license for a couple of days. And I went to go see what we could do, and it was like you can't eat any of the fish.
So why are you
All
fishing?
mountain.
You have to
Why are
send
you-
it all back.
Yeah, but I mean, well, I'm a catch and release
Right,
guy,
me too.
but you know when I sat there and I realized I was like talking about the mountain water and how clear it is. Well, how clear can it be, or how clean can it be if
Clean.
you can't eat?
Right.
Right.
You know, so kind of scary.
I
But
know.
anyway,
So this is the perfect thing to do in the morning. And actually at the brewery when we taste beer, we do it first thing in the morning or right before lunch because your palate is fresher. So it's really scientifically proven.
Okay.
So here I brought a few of our beers today. We do 6 beers year round. We also do 4 seasonals, and we do some special beers. So this is perhaps our flagship. This is a Hopfish India Pale Ale, English style India Pale Ale. So it has a little bit of hop character to it, a little bit of bite, but great with food. All our beers are designed to pair well with food. Really good with cheese. This just won a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival.
Congratulations.
And thanks. And it's become our biggest selling brand.
with cheese.
Yeah. Oh, beer and
Really?
cheese. Beer and cheese are pair very well because they're similar. They're both made of grasses. They both go through fermentation.
Right.
They both go through aging, and you eat similar foods, whether it's crackers or breads or things like that. So beer and cheese actually pair better a lot of times than wine and cheese.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
The carbonation in the beer, especially with a soft cheese, cleanses your palate, whereas the wine doesn't do that. So it really
Well,
opens
does
it
the wine
up.
just kind of lingers? Or?
Yeah, it doesn't. The carbonation actually scrubs some more of the aroma out of the cheese. So yeah,
Interesting.
I love doing beer
Didn't
and
know
cheese
that.
pairings. This is another one of our beers. We're a Jersey-centric brewery, so this is Exit 4. We did a series of beers honoring New Jersey through exits of the turnpike,
Right.
how people know New Jersey.
Sure.
So Exit 4 is where we used to be, and this was a Belgian Tripel, very strong in alcohol, 9.5%.
Wow.
Regular beer is about 5%. But it doesn't taste like that. So the Belgians are very good at hiding it. But then we Americanized it and added a lot of hops to it. So it's very hoppy, but very rich beer. This also won a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival.
Wonderful.
And this is our newest beer. This is our newest Exit beer. They always come out in these champagne-sized bottles
And
to
what
start.
number is that? Exit
This
3.
is Exit 3,
What's
which
Exit 3?
it's kind of our new Exit, but it's
it
near
is?
Runnymede.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
168.
And it's
Okay,
kind of the
168.
gateway to a lot of farmland. So this has
Right.
blueberries from Hamilton as well as
Oh, very
honey
nice.
from South Jersey. Each we have a pound of blueberries for every 10 gallons of beer. It's not a blue beer. It's beautiful golden color with just a little bit of a hue of blueberries. This is what's called a braggot. It's a very rare style of beer. It was written about in the 12th century.
Braggot.
It's a cross between a mead, which is a honey
Oh,
wine,
I know what mead is.
and a beer. So
Right.
very low in hops. Very drinkable beer. It's also 15% alcohol. So
Wow.
this
Don't need too much
little
of that.
bottle is about a 6-pack of beer. So you have to
Wow.
be careful.
Now, is this close to I'll say a wine because it has a berry?
It's very close to a wine. Little to the sweeter side. Great with like a really aged cheddar. It's a great dessert beer. And with the big
Dessert
bottle,
beer.
it's a beer to share with people. It's obviously you're not going to sit there and drink that yourself.
Now, does through the process of making the beer, blueberries are an antioxidant. I mean,
Yes.
very good for you. Through the process, do you lose any of that?
I don't know.
Okay.
And we're not allowed to make health claims anyway, so we haven't
okay,
really
yeah.
looked
Come on,
into
Gene,
it.
beer is good for you.
Absolutely, beer is
Beer is
great
good
for
for
you. So this is limited edition, and this just came out. And then I
that's
brought our Valentine's beer,
Oh, perfect.
which is Exit One,
Where's exit 1?
That's,
all the way at
That's
the
the
bottom
shore?
of the state.
Yeah,
Yes,
the shore?
Delaware Memorial
Delaware
Bridge.
Bridge.
Oh, okay.
So this is another old style of beer. It's called an oyster stout. And
Interesting.
when we tell that to people, half the people are like, great, and the other half are like, oh,
Ew,
does it
I
taste
don't
like
like
oysters?
oysters.
Doesn't taste like oysters, but it's a style they used to make in England back in the 1700s when oysters were so plentiful. They would just put them on the bar as bar snacks. We work with the Partnership for the Delaware Estuary, and we got oysters. I would drive down in the morning, they would come off the boat, and we put 1 oyster per every 30 gallons of beer. What you get from that is some gypsum from the shell and then a little bit of the brine from the oyster. We then pull the oysters out after about 15 minutes, and they're great to eat. We were putting them on pizza, we were eating them. It's our favorite beer to make. But it's a dark beer, but I tell people don't drink with your eyes. It's got a lot of flavor. It's great with oysters. It's great with chocolate, great with dessert. Really versatile beer. So why don't we try a little bit of that?
Okay, here we go.
We're going to try have shellfish.
Oh, a little, ooh, just a little. Oh, look at the color of that. Is there a special way to drink beer? Like, with the wine, you have to swirl it around?
Well, the first thing you do is drinking beer is a lot more fun than drinking wine because you do
course
swirl
it
it
is.
around and you sniff it a little bit. And on this, you'll get some chocolate
Oh,
notes.
that smells chocolatey.
You really don't get any brininess. You get a little bit of mineral character to
Sure.
it.
Can't drink it, but
No, that's okay.
interesting.
The next thing you do is you taste it and pick up swirl around your tongue, sides of your mouth. You get all the different characters. You get a lot of dryness from this beer.
That's
you get
very,
some of the
it's
richness.
dry to me.
But-
I'm not a big beer drinker, but it's a little dry, but I like that.
But the important thing with tasting beer is wine, whereas wine they spit it out.
I know.
Beer, because it's carbonated, you have to swallow it. It's called a trigeminal sensation, which is the back of your throat. So you need to swallow the beer so the carbonation can infuse all that aroma
All
up.
taste buds,
yes.
right.
So it's really to taste beer correctly, you must swallow it. You can't spit it out, which is, I think, is great.
This is very good. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm.
So
What do we have next to try?
we could try. Well, do you want to go something a little hoppier, or would you go something a little sweeter?
Sweeter. Let's
Okay.
try the sweeter.
So this is Exit 4. This is a Belgian Tripel.
And this is sort of our exit.
This is my exit.
So in Belgium, there are 5 monasteries that make beer. They have a single, a double, and a triple. Each one is a little stronger in alcohol. And they used to make the beer to get through Lent, the 40 days of Lent. They would make bread and beer. And at 9.5% alcohol, I'm sure the 40 days went pretty quickly.
That has something to do.
It was great. At the old brewery, one of my favorite stories is someone came in and I was telling him this story and he said, my uncle's in a monastery and they only make fruitcakes. And I'm like, oh, he joined the wrong order.
Right. And this is, oh, that's pretty.
That is a nice color.
Pretty golden.
Yeah, so this is
Exit 4.
Exit 4. Very light in color.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
Smells good.
You get a lot of, there's a citrusy character from the hops. Some people get
Oh, that's
melon,
nice. Very
tangerine.
nice.
That's a great flavor.
Very nice.
I haven't drank.
I
that
taste
in a
fruit
while.
in here.
Yeah, that's from the hops.
Fruit.
And you get a little bit from the yeast as well. And then there's a nice sweetness to it. but then it finishes dry a little bit with the bitterness. So it's a really, what we like our beers to do is tell a story. So it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you get that aroma, you have that taste, and then the finish kind of lingers with you and makes you want to say, hey, let me have another one. Now, this is a really drinkable beer, and like I said, it's about twice as strong as, say, a regular mainstream beer. So
definitely need some steak and eggs for
yes,
the morning.
yes. But again, this is great with
very tasty.
Richer foods like meats, richer cheeses, great dessert beer, pairs with anything sweet.
Gene, I think you're going to turn me into a beer drinker eventually.
It's really good.
That's my mission.
Wonderful.
Now, is there, as far as like, I noticed like you 9%, you said this is 13%? 15%.
Yes.
At some point, when I was drinking, 30 years ago, my beer, beer was only what, 6-7%?
Yeah, 5-6.
So now, I mean, is it kind of trending now to make more of the higher?
Some folks are making stronger beers. We have a range. So, for example, our Extra Pale Ale, which is available at the baseball and football stadiums, and it's one of our popular beers, is about 4.5% alcohol, whereas your mainstream lagers, Bud Miller Coors, is about 5%. So it's a little lighter, more flavor. Our summer beer is 4.2%. Still has a lot of flavor, a lot less alcohol. So in the summer, you want to be able to have an extra beer if you're playing softball or mowing the lawn or just hanging
enjoy
out.
It, not be totally wasted from it.
The winter, the beers are a little stronger just because you're in.
And your blood is different in the winter too. The way your body would absorb it.
You're inside more. You're a little more sedentary. This is a special beer. This is the highest we've ever done, and it's not really. It's kind of you try it and you say, I've had that. That's not going to be, I hope that's not going to be somebody's everyday beer. But so we do a range because everyone's palate is different. You may perceive some things in this that I don't. I may perceive things that you don't. So we kind of make a range of beers. Like I said, pairing beer and food is a real big thing now. Yes. But when we started 19 years ago, it was kind of new.
Nobody was doing. They weren't even doing wine pairings back then.
As a young guy, you know what? You get your first big paycheck. You wanted a good beer and a steak.
Right.
What I mean? Now I think beer, especially with your company, coming about. I mean, beer is different now. It is kind of pairing foods.
Well, I think what's happened with beer has become a gourmet beverage now. And I think long ago, even when I was younger, we would just get a 6-pack of Budweiser or Rolling Rock and a pizza. Whatever we could afford, and that was our night. But now, that you can be a beer connoisseur, or is there a special name for it? Like with a wine connoisseur, it's a sommelier, but
it's called a Cicerone. It's
Cicerone.
a course of study you can take. But this is a great time for beer, and people think that craft beer is a new thing, but it's always been the history of our country. There are probably 3,500 breweries in the country now. We had that many back in the 1800s.
3,500 breweries.
Yeah. In 1900, there were 100 breweries in the city of Philadelphia alone. Wow. And there were 50 in the state of New Jersey. And that was because there wasn't refrigeration. So the brewery had to be within a wagon ride of the final destination.
Right. Which would have been a tavern.
Yes.
Or an inn.
Yeah. Right. So, our history has always been small local breweries, and we're just getting back to that. I think people are getting into where's their food coming from, who's growing it, who's roasting the coffee, and this kind of fits into that whole thing.
Yeah, and that was my next big question. I have a lot of buddies that were in the military over in Germany. They drink their beer warm. I mean, we obviously in America drink our beers a lot colder. But I mean, what's a good temperature to drink a beer?
I like drinking beer starting around 45 degrees because it gives it a little time to warm up. If you drink the beer too cold, you can't taste anything. So, some of the big folks advertise their beer as frost brewed or served below freezing. All you're getting is cold, flavorless alcohol. It's not really, you're not sipping it, enjoying it. Beers like this, you need to open up a little bit. You get more of the flavor.
Like wine.
Yeah, exactly. And as it warms up, you get to the point where if it's too warm, you don't want to drink it. But if you start at about 45 degrees, it'll slowly open up.
Okay. Awesome.
Gene, where can our viewers find you?
We are in Summerdale, and we're right off of Route 30. We have a tasting room now that we're open Wednesday to Sunday.
Well, talk about the tasting room. What happens in the tasting room?
In the tasting room, we do tours. We again, I was talking about sustainability, so we have reclaimed, we had an old water tower on the corner of the property for the sprinkler system that was falling down, so we reclaimed all that wood, made all the tables out of it.
Very nice.
Everything is pretty much recycled in there.
That's wonderful, I like that.
And we got the law changed in New Jersey about 2 years ago, so now you can come in, we give you a tour, you can buy samples of beer, you can buy bigger glasses of beer, you can buy beer to go. We have the T-shirts, all that great stuff, and
is it called fishware? Is that what
yes,
you call it?
yes,
Fishware.
And then we also do special things on Wednesdays and Thursdays. We'll tap special beers. You were talking with warm beer. We'll do what's called a English firkin, where we actually put it on the bar. It's served almost at room temperature. It's lower carbonation, and it's a historic kind of beer. Some people like that, so we just make it fun for people.
Right.
And yeah, so we're there Wednesday to Sunday. We have a little nice outdoor seating area. If it ever warms up, we'll be able to use that.
Soon, I hope.
And yeah, we love to take people through. We get a lot of folks from out of state because we're right off the interstate there,
Yeah.
and a lot of visitors, and
great.
it's fun.
Okay.
Do you have a web address?
We
Can
are
you
at
share?
flyingfish.com, and yeah, we have Facebook and Twitter and all the usual interweb stuff. But yeah, if you start at flyingfish.com, we have a newsletter that goes out. Kind of, we don't overwhelm you with information, but it keeps you up to speed with the events going
Like
on.
what's happening at the brewery?
At the brewery, and we're super local, so all our beer is sold within 100 miles of the brewery. So we're in New Jersey. We're not even in New York.
Are you in Delaware?
We're in Delaware. We're in Maryland. We're
Where?
in DC.
Some of the stores where our viewers might be able to find you. Can you name them?
Every time I do that, then someone
You'll
says
miss
you
someone?
forgot me.
Okay.
But any store that really in our area that carries better beer would have it.
Okay.
And if they don't, please ask for it, because
Okay.
that's the biggest thing is when
Yeah.
a customer goes, we can go to a store and say, this is a great beer, it won a gold medal, and it's not the same as a customer with money in their pocket saying, hey,
Right.
get that beer in.
Right.
So, and again, as a local business, we rely on our local fans and supporters.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Well, I think we've all become beer fans of Flying Fish today, don't you, Keith?
Yes, absolutely.
my work is
Absolutely.
done here.
Yes. Happy Valentine's
Thanks.
Day, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Gene.